Okay, and there is only one place to start this week, Finland, and the Stage 3 Series fights in the fabulous Super 6 tournament. It's Nottingham's Carl Froch against German-based Armenian Artur Abraham for the vacant WBC Super Middleweight title. It's a major fight. Both entered the Super 6 unbeaten and both won their first fights on the same night last October. Then they both lost in terrific and controversial fights. Abraham was disqualified for hitting American Andre Dirrell when Dirrell had a knee on the floor and was lying in the ropes. That was in the 11th round of a crazy fight. And Froch dropped a tight decision to Denmark's Mikkel Kessler in an absolute beauty of a fight. This is crunch time. This is what world titles and world title fight nights should be. I fly out tomorrow as part of Five Live's team, and the fight is also available from prime time on pay-per-view TV. It really is showtime now for both Carl and Artur, and I'm convinced that it's going to be a great fight. Carl, by the way, is in better mental and physical state, stronger place than he was before he lost to Kessler earlier this year.
Yeah, I feel a lot better. I think going into the fight with Mikkel Kessler, I was confident, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking about Joe Calzaghe, the Kessler fight with him, and the Super 6 and the world title defence away from home. And my girlfriend Rachel, she was really into the late stages, the third trimester of being pregnant, and I was worried about her, and she was getting little pains and problems going off, and I had a lot on my mind. This time, I've got my 5-month-old son. Things are right at home. I've come out here with plenty of time to get myself mentally switched on and think about the fight. I've done a lot of thinking about my tactics and what I need to do to get my game plan right on the night, and I'm confident that all the training's been done, the sparring, the hard runs, it's all in the bank, and I felt super sharp and really good with Rob on Monday and on Tuesday, and I don't know, there's just a good feel about this. I don't know, maybe I'm feeling it all wrong and I've misread it. Hopefully not, but I just feel really good, feel confident, strong, fit, and I feel like the camp's gone totally to plan. And for me, it's all about concentrating and remembering the tactics that me and Rob have been working on for the last 4 months. It's just, I don't know, when I think about it, my hairs on the back of my head stand up, I clench my fists, and I don't want to go home on Sunday without that belt. I really don't want to. I feel overwhelmed when I think about the fight, almost like emotional, like I could cry, and I don't know if that sounds soft or stupid, but I want this belt so badly. I'm going to go in there and it's not about going out there and swinging with my eyes shut and trying to kill him and trying to knock him out in 2, 3, 4 rounds and bash his ribs in and knock him, try and decapitate him. None of that silliness. It's about me doing what I know I can do to win, and that means being smart, being confident, believing in myself, and just jabbing and moving and using my boxing ability like I did in the amateurs when I won a medal in the World Championships. Just getting that frame of mind back. And, I'm very close to being in the ring on Saturday night, and it's sort of dawning on me, but I feel good as it dawns on me. I can feel it closing in, I can feel the pressure. It's hard, my family are coming out Friday, I've been on the phone to Rachel, I can hear my little boy in the background, but it's like nothing else matters. I'm feeling a bit emotional now. I want this belt so bad.
That was the BBC's Mike Costello there talking to Carl, and he joins me now, that's Mick does, with Ritchie Woodhall, the Olympic medalist, Baggies fan, unbeaten Commonwealth champion, unbeaten European champion at middleweight, Commonwealth Games gold medal, Telford's Gudgeon and Perch champion in 1982, former WBC Super Middleweight champion, the only pundit in the BBC Sports Department with a Guinness sponsorship. They're both in Helsinki, and I believe they may have Carl with them. Mike, you take control of that chaos there.
Thanks, Steve. And I'll tell you, wrap up when you get over here tomorrow, Steve, because we're looking out of a hotel room here, and the waterway just beneath us is frozen over. There's a sign, a temperature gauge on the side of the hotel building saying minus 10 degrees.
Ouch!
So it's going to be cold, and it's getting even colder across the weekend, we're told. But you may have heard in the background of the interview there with Carl that there was a real sort of hubbub at the press conference yesterday. This has taken on here, and everybody realises that this is a genuine fight. We heard there from Carl, but that was 24 hours ago. Carl, you've got the weigh-in to come tomorrow. How are you feeling now?
Yeah, I'm feeling mentally sharp, physically ready and focused to do the job Saturday night. Obviously, we've got to get the weigh-in done tomorrow. On that subject, my weight's absolutely spot on. I'm literally coming in at 169 pounds, which is 12 stone 1, sat here now. So I've got 1 pound to shift overnight, which will fall off me in the next few hours. And I've been able to eat all week, so everything just feels and has gone to plan perfectly.
You know, Mike, I was reminded of something, and Richie and Carl, I was reminded of something. I was looking through some notes. I was looking at those fights we had of Abraham's on Setanta, and I was reminded that in several of those fights, he was coming down from 13.5 stone and spending 5 and 6 days in a sauna. Do we know if he still has a few problems with weight, Carl?
Who's that, Arthur?
Yeah.
I've heard that a little bit in the past.
I'd forgotten that, yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure. I mean, super middleweight would probably suit him a little bit better than what middleweight does. But that tells me he's a little bit lazy and undisciplined, because he's not a big man. I mean, he's a 5'9", 5'10" super middleweight who's, you know, operated out of his whole career from middleweight other than the last 2 fights. So I've got all the advantages going in, that's for sure.
Richie, when you see the two of them together, size-wise, I know you can't judge it on just how tall someone is or how short someone is, but how much bigger in your trained eye does Carl look, Rich?
He's definitely got the advantage, Steve, as we all know. But I think the advantage is going to be in his long reach for me, and he's got to use that to his advantage, especially the long jab. I think it's very, very important. When you analyse the two styles, I think that Abraham can only box one way on his front foot, where Carl, you know, we spoke about this many times between us, that he's got a bit of variety, Carl. You know, he can stand toe-to-toe with the best of them, but also, you know, you got to remember that this guy won a world championship medal as an amateur, and so he's got the boxing ability as well. Now, I think that comes into this contest more than anything, probably more than any of his other contests. I think that's the way to beat this guy, to mix it up a little bit, as well as on the front foot, to box as well.
Carl, from talking to you, listening to that interview that Mick did there, and talking to you a few weeks ago, I think it's fairly obvious that you're going to try and stay in control of your emotions and not wear your heart out on your sleeve. But at the same time, you sound fairly sort of up for it and wound up for it, which is a good thing. Are you going to be able to keep it in check and stick to a nice plan tomorrow night in a packed arena?
Hopefully, for my sake and for my eardrum's sake, because Rob McCracken's going to absolutely lose his mind in the corner if I don't. We've been working on it for 3, probably 4 months, actually, with the back injury delaying the fight a little bit more. So, plan A is to box and move and use my ability and my pedigree from the amateurs, my boxing ability, which I've neglected quite a lot over the last few fights. I've got a fantastic, sharp, long jab, and when I keep anybody at the end of that, they really struggle. So Abraham's got to try and get through that jab, and if he does get through it, he's going to be walking onto the right hand, which is going to come with it's going to be an uppercut or a straight overhand right. So it's going to hurt. But yeah, discipline and concentration and focus is key. I've got to just focus for every second of every round, from start to finish, if that's what it takes.
It seems. Now, Rich, let me ask you this question. Rich, Abrahams has been moaning a bit in the German press that it's been a very long break, suggesting that he was ready when the fight was first cancelled, whenever it was September, and that now it's a bit awkward for him. Do you read anything into that? Because it's only a month longer than Carl's been out.
Yeah, it's a few negative, excuse me, Bunty lad, a few negative signs there from Abraham. But I happen to agree with Carl in that, you know, I've watched Abraham many times, Steve, and I think he's a lazy boxer, a lazy fighter anyway.
Lazy boy.
He fights in spurts. You know, he is heavy-handed and he's a tough kid, but he is lazy. And I think his lifestyle outside the ring as well. You hear reports of his weight fluctuating, going, you know, a stone overweight and whatever. So, you know, he's not as disciplined as Carl. I've been watching Carl train up at the Sheffield, at the EIS up there, doing some good spars up there. And one thing that impresses me, I mean, I'm not just saying it because he's here, he's always on his weight. He's only 2 or 3 pounds over his weight when he's in training. So the signs for Carl are good. And yeah, there's a few negative signs there with Abraham.
But Steve, if you look at Abraham's record, Steve, you know, he did make it through 11 world title fights. So there's something there, whatever he was doing outside of the ring. Now, I know 10 of those were in Germany, and so he had a lot of factors in his favour. And if you look down the record, there's nobody there you'd give a chance to against Carl. I understand that, but you know, there's something there that kept him going for that long. But that was at middleweight, you know, and I think that could be key. And there's nobody amongst that crew of 10 world title challengers and the rematch against Edison Miranda that will be hitting him as hard as Carl will. But just going back to what Carl was saying a couple of minutes ago, I was up in Sheffield to watch the closing stages of his preparations last week with Rob, and you know, he didn't do an awful lot. There was no sparring, but he did some shadow boxing and some pad work. And all the way through it, Rob was shouting don't stay there, don't stay there. And I think in one sentence that pretty much sums up, you know, what Carl needs to do at the weekend. But I mean, he's aware of that more than anybody. But that's kind of the nub of this contest, you know, to not be there for Abraham to swing away at.
Absolutely, you know, Carl's got you've got all the height, you've got all the reach, and I think you've got all the brains, Carl. It's there for you to box a sensible fight. Listen, thanks, Carl, for hanging on in the room to join us with these two. I was going to give these two a quiz in Finnish, but I'm not going to now. I'm going to come in tomorrow and give them a Finnish quiz. But I will say to them, kiitos to all of you. That's thank you in Finnish to all of you. Kiitos, kiitos, kiitos.
Just briefly, Steve, Carl charmed the locals here with a bit of Finnish at the final press conference yesterday.
Well, I've got some Finnish. Can I just give you this, Mick? Because I've been working on this all day, okay? Okay, you'll love this. Ormotino looks ni orgerida. Do you know what that is? Do you know what it is? I don't know how I came up with this. That is my hovercraft is full of eels.
You've definitely just made that up.
There's a crackpot here.
Do you mean the hovercraft beneath your shirt?
I don't know what it is. I asked some woman here today to give me a typical Finnish sentence, and she came up with my hovercraft is full of eels.
Well, Bunty, you won't be catching any eels here, mate. The water's frozen over.
Listen, I might have to go in a dip for a dip, though, Rich. You know what I'm like, son. Listen, you three, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I'll see you in about 20 hours' time. Carl, get some rest. I'll see you tomorrow evening, mate. That's the three boys out there in Finland.